Well, my daddy made it clear that he told me, he said, son, you know you're a po' boy, right? And I said, okay. He said, you know what that mean? I said, what that mean? He said, you gotta fake it till you make it. And I'm still faking it. And I've not made it. My father would have definitely told me that. My father told me that, look, if you hang with chumps, you'll end up being like them. So you watch who you hang with. My dad told me, he said there are 3 things that's bad on a black man's health: white sugar, white salt, and I won't name the third. And I believed him.
Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. The world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
I'm super
Tribute to my
excited
father.
to have you here with me. It's been almost 7 years since you were last on the show.
Well, I'm just so glad that you allowed a non-luminary to join the cast of the luminaries who've been a part. And I'm so appreciative. And you know, the number 7 is the year of Jubilee. So after 7 years, you've forgiven and maybe not forgotten, but you let me come back 7 years, so the slate is all clean. I'm appreciative.
You are unforgettable. So I want to dive into this African American history class. I know most recently you were on Fox News talking about the alignment with your views in terms of some of the core issues being taken out, your alignment with your views with Governor DeSantis. And so there's been a lot of talk about that particular interview and this course. So you are not new to African American history. In fact, I consider you to be a historian. And so tell me what your views are on that course and things that have recently been talked about as it relates to it.
You know, it's amazing, Nicole, how I've been shaped to be supporting Governor DeSantis. And my point on Fox News is that I'm not supporting DeSantis. DeSantis is supporting me. My thought of the college board, it happens that once in a statement of facts that the governor said something which coincides with my own view. But let's be clear, the fact that he believes that the college board presentation is immature, it's inappropriate, it is not germane to African American history. I believe the same thing. That don't mean I support DeSantis. I am against his opposition to diversity, equity, and inclusion standards. I am against a number of the boneheaded things that he's been about and has led. I'm not sure of his posture with Disney, if it was appropriate, and to strike at them for expressing their First Amendment rights. There's a lot about DeSantis to just have a high level of passivity about, and I maintain high levels of passivity against DeSantis. But when it comes to African American history, you don't talk about my daddy and my granddaddy and his daddy and on back up the line. Proctors are not queers. We ain't the study of queers. I don't care who the college board is. Don't come down here talking about the history of my family. It's about queers, about feminism, about womanism. That's not who we are. So I don't want that lens applied to my family, and it shouldn't be applied wholesale to everybody else. What we have been dealing with is survival. What we have been dealing with is faith persevering against oppression. That's what African American history is. DeSantis is not taught yet, but somehow the college board has not taught African American history either. I have constructed syllabus. I have evaluated students in midterms and finals and papers and reviewed it. The elements of African American history are essentially about 6 or 7 things which I outlined in a letter to the governor, asking him to appoint a 15-person board. Could have been 21 persons, could have been 31 persons. I don't know. A lot of people know stuff. But don't take the college board because they are nobody, as far as I'm concerned. Now, my deeper point that nobody's heard, let me just tell you the other things that the governor, I get a bath every day. Does the governor get one? I eat every day. Does the governor eat every day? I see the doctor sometime. Does the governor do that? So, hell, there's a lot of things that the governor and I agree on fundamentally. I believe in changing clothes and putting on another suit. Day, tomorrow, the next day. So there are things that me and the governor do alike and agree on.
Okay.
But that don't mean I'm supporting this thinker. That's crazy. So let me tell you the big problem that's not been addressed. That problem is the college board, which is the modern day auction block. The college board has too much unregulated power. Who are they to set a curriculum standard on African American history? They don't know African American history. Who are their experts? What process, what methodology did they use to distill what should be included as African American history? We don't know that. They are a private organization founded in 1900. They're supposed to be 501c3. They make millions of dollars of money. What money do they put in for the students of Florida to take the SAT, ACT, and to set scores in their grade and place a gradation, a calibrated score upon poor children all across America? Hell, I'm against the college board. So when the college board accounts for how much money they make, how do they set the price at which a poor child at Rickers High School, Godby High School, can these children even afford to pay to take this test? What about the pre-test? What about the little book that you buy, the pre-book, the play testing book? It's a conglomeration of big business all across 50 states. The college board needs to terminate or be reformed, okay? They ain't got no expertise. Florida got more expertise inside of Florida to determine what an African American history component should be. College board needs to go out of business.
So what's your thoughts about what citizens can do to challenge this?
One of the things is that voting. DeSantis, voting. DeSantis got back in office. Voting. DeSantis is going to be sunset at some point. But the problem is, even when DeSantis is out of office, the college board is still going to be down here telling us our children didn't make a high enough score on the ACT. And they have license with thousands of universities and colleges across America telling them, we will determine who's the smart kid, who has the aptitude, who has a greater probability of getting in your school and performing and graduating, blah, blah, blah. They ain't got no right to be the one. The NRA goes around advocating about guns. They ain't regulated by nobody. They don't come under the United States military, Defense Department, the National Rifle Association. They ain't got no, and that's who the college board is. They go around and spread a whole different kind of psychological notion about calibrating who's smart, who's gifted, who ought to go on, who can get in Harvard, Yale, blah, blah, blah. I'm old enough to remember when universities and colleges had what they call admission committees, an admission committee, and that the university took as a part of its function process to evaluate students by something other than a national standardized exam. You know, I mean, you ask a kid in Oklahoma a story and write a little narrative about the yacht. You know, first of all, how you spell yacht? Is it like, well, anyway, yacht. What if you in Oklahoma, or you in Nebraska, or you a kid in Chicago, you a kid in New York City, you don't know about no yacht. If you put somebody yacht, that whole word, you know, unless a kid is from Florida, the coastal regions of Louisiana, down the coast, California, you might know what a yacht is. But interior, Wyoming don't know nothing about no yacht.
Right.
So when you're asking questions and all, our kids are not dumb. But over and over again, College Board is making decisions that, but even as dumb as our kids may or may not be, if they can run a 4.3, 40, if they can pick up 300 pounds dead weight, if they can jump 40 inches vertically, somehow we forgive their scores, the intellectual notion of da-da-da. So America's schools will allow you to come in if the physicality and can translate into making money.
Right.
The black kids that go into PWIs, they are there and they earn money for that university. The white kids don't generate no money. Don't nobody come to white kids to see them play no run the football. That boy from Stanford kind of good. Now that running back he was kind of good. But by and large, white universities are operating and making millions. You saw with Florida State is well over into the black. How much money they made this past year on people who were black. And I don't know what the SAT scores was.
Right.
That was forgiven if it wasn't that high. The ACT score was forgiven if it wasn't that high. But that money, that green is coming off of black feet, black brawn, black minds and creativity. And that right there needs to be looked at too. There is a problem.
We sound like you about to preach. So let me bring you down a little bit.
God is good. He is absolutely
All right,
good.
so you mentioned voting. Over these last year's election cycles, it seems like there's been a lot of voter apathy. Almost as if there's
I
been
can go ahead. Don't even finish the question. Let me tell you something. When people don't see or can discern a correlation between their vote and their neighborhood, their vote and how much money they make, there's no correlation between their vote and access to going to be able to see the doctor. They don't see the correlation. And oftentimes, even when they vote blue, if blue is the promised land, the Democratic Party does not stand up for black people proportion to and commensurate with the level of voting. Over 90% of the black vote goes to a party that don't fight for them.
And why is that?
Because they can. They're not held accountable for the large percentage. In fact, Democrats, white, non-black, can win an election seat without a strong black showing. They can't. But when white folk get elected, say in Tallahassee, there out of the 12 elected city and county commissioners, write this down, 10 of them depend on black voters to get elected. Only the one from District 4, Northeast, and possibly District 5, which is the one that Paula Johnson was in, it may not be a large enough black margin. But District 1, District 2, and District 3, you got to go and get the majority of black voters. All of the city commission races, if you don't get the black vote, you ain't gonna get elected. But when those same people get elected, what specifically does their community, our community, perceive or see that this really didn't make a difference? Hell, I've been trying to get the city to include the south side to have sanitary sewer, central sewer. Why is it that our side of town, we making people put their sewer in the backyard? What's wrong with our stuff? That it can't get put in a pipe like everybody else stuff, and that we smell across the street from us. And when the wind blowing north, we got to smell it what everybody else ate this morning. But we can't put our own there. So we're in the urban services area, which guarantees city urban services. We're in the urban services area, but the city limit stops before you get to Tillman Funeral Home going down Adams Street.
Gotcha.
Stops. We are owed some stuff. We're paying city utilities, and 30% of our city utilities undergirds operation budget for the city of Tallahassee, but we're denied the right to vote. That's called gerrymandering. So why do we pay city utilities We're inside the urban service area, yet we got to keep all our dookie in the backyard. And on top of that, we get to pay for 30%, but the police ain't serving our area. So why can't the cops come down there? Because the city limits stop right there.
So you
Do our
approve?
kids go to the park and work and can go to the park and go to the pool without having to bring a utility bill or bring something that shows they live in the city? All this is wrong.
So you proving my point of voter apathy, because people aren't seeing their vote relative to the services that are needed.
Well,
So-
we agree. Let's shake hands on that. We agree. I give you a high five on that. We agree.
All right, so how can we change that?
I don't know.
Holding our
don't
electeds
know.
accountable?
Yep, you got to raise hell. It ain't. Let me tell you something. This is what you got to do. See, I don't know all the fancy, but I can tell you straight. When you walk through the jungle, when you walking through the jungle, and you hear something, you jump. You know, oh, that's a mouse. You keep walking. Relax. You hear something else, and oh, that's a squirrel. Okay. You keep walking through the jungle, and there's a rabbit. So he ain't nobody. You walk through the jungle and walk up on a gorilla, and you say something like, "Oh God, oh shoot, great day," and your heart start beating. Your sphincter muscle get tight, and you pondering what in the hell is about to happen. You see, force and power, and in the universe of the jungle, you respect that which can hurt you, will bite you, can fight you, or will kill you. Everything else, you relax and say, that ain't nothing. That's what life is. And until the people you elect know that you will bite them, fight them, and hold them accountable, and it's going to be hell to pay, and they can't walk past you, however you actualize that, going to meetings, writing them letters, talking stuff, hell, I don't know. But I'm just telling you that in the jungle, you respect the stuff that's going to hurt you, kill you, bite you, and fight you. We've got to become that kind of force.
Okay. Tell me what's important to you.
Excuse me, I'm a Coast Guard, sir. Excuse me right there. You're important from multiple dimensions. You're important because you're African American female in the 21st century, making waves, making ways, W-A-V-E-S, W-A-Y-S. That's important. My daughter looks up to you. And every time your voice is represented and you integrate the voices of the experts that you bring to our community, I'm proud of you. So I say you universally, because there are other young girls and young ladies who likewise would like to actualize their dreams and achieve and to do the wonderful things of voicing and even allowing me to be in this moment with you, that others might hear my thoughts about the College Board, democracy, voting, holding our system accountable, and those things of which you've allowed my voice to ring this morning. So you're important to me.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor. You have served on the Board of County Commissioners.
1,000 years.
Right. What legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I don't know. I just take one fight at a time. I typically don't duck a fight. And be it $10 million for FAMU Stadium, $27 million for FSU Stadium, which to me is no big to do, but it became a big to do to our community. The statement about the College Board gave us a jive time, crazy, crappy, Rudy poop curriculum. I didn't know that was going to put me on Fox News, but it did. So what I would like to be my legacy is not the things that people remember. Nobody remembers that I led the effort to get the last $29 million out of the 1989 sales tax and close that ditch on Orange Avenue. And now we have a 4-lane street of which 410 units may bear a coexistence next to. I would like that to be my legacy. But the things that jump off about the police chief and not wanting that man to be our police chief, that's what people hear. But I would like for them to know that I led the charge and brought $28 million from Congress and widened Crawfordville Road to the extent that it is now. I would like for my legacy to be that folk knew that I led the charge for the county to build the B.L. Perry Library. Don't nobody know that. I would like my legacy to be that of the millions of dollars that we're investing in sewer expansion in the South End, all the way down the Woodville, I would like for people to know I led the charge on that. But that probably won't be what my legacy is. So what I want and the stuff I be trying to tell and teach and train and the public on, that stuff don't stick. So hell, I don't know what the legacy gonna be. That's not for me. I don't know. I do the best I can. Let the legacy show, the record, that I ain't never ran from a fight. I ain't never shucked and ducked and scared of nobody. Let the record show nobody's ever called me dumb, and let the record show that no one has called me a liar. So if you don't lie, and you ain't dumb, and you ain't scared, and you talk as much as I do, he's been about it, he's been on the case, he's been a strong advocate.
Okay, thank you. I think the record did show. We got it recorded right here. So.
Amen. I'm so grateful to that.
All right, what's the best advice you've ever received?
My grandmother said, son, shade the ground that you stand on. And I've been to undergraduate law school and seminary, but the best advice, the best teaching, the best everything, shade the ground that you stand on. And to have had condensed convictions in my life is what has stood me up. Condensed an aggregate of convictions and values that I stand on and that are the principles of which I live and principles of which I'm willing to die. Her comments, I think, exceed many others that I've read about and others which I cherish. But when it comes to the personal, the core value, standing and shading the ground that you stand means a lot to me.
Thank you. And so finally, what do you believe is your greater work?
I preach. And a lot of people don't hear me preach. But I think that I was talking to my daughter today, and we were talking a little bit, and she was saying something. I said, I have to change hats. And I think the greater work is the hat changing, that I switch from being a pastor, a preacher on Sundays, an instructor, collegiate level, meeting the great minds of the young minds from all over America in the classrooms at Florida A&M University, have to switch hats and be pure instructor. And then on Tuesdays or Thursdays or whenever the meetings come up, I'm an advocate, I'm a defender, I am a voice crying in the wilderness, but I try to be a clear voice. And I think that the multiplicity of roles, I don't have an off day. There's no off day for me. I work all the time. And though you may not know where my desk is, where my office is, I'm working all the time. My mind, my heart is always wrapped around a thought. So if you can combine the splendor of a man who serves his government, who serves his university, who serves his church and his God, and you do it with the radiance and splendor that I've sustained over time. 36 years association with FAMU, since '85. I can't count that far. You have to ask somebody like Gerald to count. He was real good at math.
And a baby rattler.
And a baby rattler. Yep. How long that is preaching And then I've been in government 27 years elected. And before then, I was special assistant to Governor Lawton Childs. And before that, I was an assistant to U.S. Senator Bob Graham. So when you add the years of me standing in the trenches of government for the people, of the people, by the people, I believe in democracy. When you add the years that I too have said that John 3:16, that God has so loved the world, he's given his son. And when you add the time of me being at FAMU, rated in the top by students, rated in FAMU's student evaluation, and among the top 5% of all professors at FAMU, I have done, I believe I fought a good fight, but the fight ain't over. I believe I've kept the faith, and I'm hopeful that I can finish the race.
And I think you will. You have, as you have well spoken, you have definitely served this community well, and so we appreciate you.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time today.
Oh, Nicole, you're very kind. Thank you for having me today.
My pleasure. And thank you all for joining us on Conversations with Nicole, where we are connecting the community through conversations.